Hello and welcome into our August Empowerment Altar Space, and we are here for our first week of August, the collective card pulls. So I'm so excited to introduce these decks to you this month. We're working with the Mystic Soul Tarot and the Mystic Soul Oracle from Christina Mitchell of Moon and Cactus, and we just used these decks midway through last year, so you may recognize some of those cards when I start to bring them up, and I can't wait to dive in and see what's coming up here for this first week of August. I just finished, it's Sunday evening, I just finished recording part 1 for the first reading of the Empowerment Pack for August. Whew, it has been a couple of days launching into this month. In fact, I think I'm going to bring in this Emerald Renewal and Recovery right off the top to help us to kind of settle in, coming in here from July through Cancer season and the beginnings of Leo season. And now we are in the gateway for 8/8 Lion's Gate, which is coming up fast on Friday of this week and my birthday, that we can tune into that energy for this week. And this reading is really going to be setting the foundation and tone for this month ahead. Now, that being said, I've been tuning in just from a couple of other places. I'm seeing buzzwords that I was already bringing in, like taking the leap, as I brought in our August words from the deep to the leap, but I've heard it said now as well, others who are also tuning into that information about August kind of being like 2 months, two different energies, and where we are finding ourselves at right now and where we may find ourselves at the other end of this month, and how it's really lining up with these messages of going from the deep to the leap. So as we take that leap, let's see what's coming up as we dip in. So we're going to start with the Oracle card, because you may notice our beautiful Queen of the Moon Oracle on the altar. And what that means is we've got a lunation this week already. Saturday, August 9th is the full moon in Aquarius. So we will finish off our reading today, pulling a card from the Queen of the Moon to see what's coming in as an overarching theme for that full moon in Aquarius. And that will, of course, be where I build from for the second reading. It's just coming in hot this week for the Empowerment Pack. So I know I did a big old commercial leading into our Empowerment Sharecast here for all the things going on. We have a big giveaway going on this month, as it is Growing the Flow's 5-year anniversary and my birthday month. So we're going to be giving away prizes to 5 winners. There's lots of ways that you can earn entries. And one of them, of course, is to work with me more comprehensively this month with the Empowerment Pack. So that is available and ready to rock. I'm just uploading that first video now. So if you'd like to get in on that, I will be tuning in this week, coming on and recording your personal month ahead card pulls from this beautiful deck, and several others. So let's get into it now with first an Oracle pull here from the Mystic Soul Oracle to launch into, and look how beautiful and fun that is, leap into, if we will. I've been making frog and tadpole puns all night, so sorry. It's coming on over into here. What's coming up here from the Oracle to start us off? So card, please. From there. Ooh, perfect. Shed. And we're seeing that snake, the snake skin, this release, a full moon week. Perfect. Preparing to step over that threshold of the 8/8 Lion's Gate. Right on point. And really tying in with our theme of metamorphosis is the shedding. So we'll tune into that off the top and see what's coming in there. Now let's get our 5 tarot cards out, introducing, and I'll just give you a quick peek because it is gorgeous and so fun. So this is the deck that we'll be working with all month, each Sunday when I come in here to tune in for our collective energies. And then if you're working with me for the Empowerment Pack this month, your personal cards will be coming from here for your month ahead energies and more. So let's shuffle up here, setting the intention for our collective for anyone who comes upon this reading at any time, of course, because time is not linear. These messages are meant for you, and you are invited to take what resonates and leave the rest. That is how it works with a collective reading. There's always someone there to pick it up. I love hearing from you as to how these things just have this wacky, wild way of playing out as we go and grow. And then if you would like a personal card pull this week to build upon what's coming up here, please feel free to let me know, whether you're here on the Empowerment Sharecast and you quick reply here, or send me a note, comment if you're seeing this in one of my social media spaces. I will be doing those complimentary personal card pulls on the other side of cranking out those Empowerment Pack month ahead readings. So at some point this week, I would be in for that card pull for you. So if you'd like one, please feel free to let me know. Okay, first card is representing Monday and kind of kicking off the week for us and setting the tone. And as I say, that first full week also tends to set that foundation for the month. So let's see what's coming in to start it all from the tarot. You don't say. The Nine of Swords. See what I mean? We needed that emerald renewal and recovery. Yeah, Nine of Swords. This is the stuff of the monkey mind, the hamster wheel, insomnia, analysis, paralysis, all up in the head, nightmare energy, fears that are more imagined than real, all the swords and all the things. Mercury retrograde and other aspects at play. Bringing all that to a head, literally. So not surprised, not panicking to see that. We're going to talk about that and how that can actually be used as the catalyst to take that leap from the deep, entrenched in that overthinking, that hamster wheel, to that leap into your aha moments and those greater awarenesses coming in. So to that, we add Tuesday. And that energy is a potential blocker challenge this week. So what could be a potential blocker challenge this week? Let's take a look. Card for Tuesday. Knight of Pentacles. So bringing in that seed, that opportunity for us to tend to those fields, to till that land. And this is beautiful because a number of the cards that we just went through, kicking off the empowerment reading, as I was recording it, there's this energy of fruition coming in on the other side of a period of working the land, this gestating or germinating as a seed would be. So the Knight of Pentacles comes in here for some action around that growth from a practical nature, getting down to practical, to earth, getting grounded and taking those tangible steps. Now, remember, that's in a position of how that could be a challenge, how you may feel challenged, how you may feel blocked when it comes to the fruition, seeing the growth. So we'll talk about that too. I'll be recording on the other side of these card pulls, my quick pop-ons for each day of the week here for each of the cards you see, as well as some astrological weather to be aware of this week. And finally, that Queen of the Moon oracle message that we'll pull here at the end. So Wednesday is our midweek blessing. So what's coming in here now for Wednesday? Seven of Wands. So we've got some fire now. So we have air, earth, and now the fire coming in. Speak of taking that leap, right? Midweek blessing. And we have this need to kind of stretch ourselves and go for it. So we'll talk about that fire that's coming in there. And let's see, 4th, 5th, 6th. So we're talking about August 6th. So we'll check in with our astrological weather to see what all is unfolding this week, of course, leading up to this Lion's Gate energy on Friday. Thursday, the 7th, is how we are growing and how we may expect to grow as we move through this week, this month, as we're tuning into it here. So with intention, we pull a card here for Thursday. How are we growing? How may we grow? There's that Three of Cups again. We finished off last week and the month of July tuning into some of that energy of three and the Three of Cups and coming together with tribe and in this way. And it's beautiful because similar, love the little peace sign there, similar to the version that I shared last week where the women were all standing with their backs to us and their arms around each other. And it was like, are they celebrating together? Are they mourning together, supporting one another in one way or another? And we see that same body language here, having each other's back, and the cups coming in with that element of water. So we have officially, all in a row, got all 4 suits of the tarot here. We've got air, earth, fire, and water. So all coming in to bring in greater balance, to bring in these aspects. And these are all minor arcana. So the people, places, and things that make up our Fool's Journey. So let's take a look and see what Friday, 8/8, my birthday, Lionsgate, what might we expect? No pressure, no pressure. What is coming up here for us for Friday to wrap up the week? And on that very powerful portal day, which we'll be talking more about this week, I'm going to be doing a special event for anyone who wants to come along for the Empowerment Pack. I'm going to be weaving in some way a live event, a way to connect live, never before been done here by Grow in the Flow, and of course, a special bonus 4th mini reading message for you through the Lionsgate. So that will also be happening this week, somehow, some way. I'm just going to be doing it all. That's me. Not much sleep. No, no, I'm going to pace myself and I'm going to practice what I preach, all in divine timing. Thank you for being here. Okay. Last card for Friday, 8/8, Lionsgate. All right. What's coming up for us? Card. Yes, Page of Wands. I love that Leo fire coming in here. And it's funny because I remember this card from when we used this deck previously, because I feel like she looks like a queen to me. You know, this is a page. So we're talking about the youngest of the court cards, the people energy of the tarot. And so this can represent aspects of you, of others in your orbit, can be aspects that you are best served to embody. And I'm feeling that fire, and I'm feeling this connection actually to our inner child, to that page version of us being emboldened, feeling supported with that 3 of Cups to stand in this position of power. I love the red dress. I'm getting grounded. I'm feeling safe and secure. And even with those cactus, you know, there is this sense of resilience and perseverance. So we'll talk for sure about that energy coming in to wrap up this first week. Now, let me pull for us our final card from the Queen of the Moon Oracle, and then we will get started with some energetic weather for this week. So, once again, this card is going to start the conversation for the full moon in Aquarius empowerment reading I will be doing this coming weekend. So, again, opportunities abounding for you to receive entries into the giveaway just by being on my free Empowerment Sharecast. If you are here now, or if you're hearing this somewhere else, come on over, because you get 3 entries right away in there for 5 prizes that will be given away at the top of September from this month. And then, of course, whether you book the Empowerment Pack with me and come along for all 3 plus the Lionsgate bonus reading this month, or just do the full moon reading a la carte, you get an entry into the giveaway as well. So this card is going to represent the conversation starter for that full moon reading that you can also join us for. Even if you're not here for the full Empowerment Pack, you can just come in for that full moon in Aquarius, and it's going to be a big one for us to cover with all of this Aquarian and Uranian energy that we're going to be having on offer this month. So let's see what's coming in from the Queen of the Moon as an overarching energy of the full moon in Aquarius. Saturday, August 9th. What's coming up? Let's see. Ooh, the will. And we have card 13. This one I have a lot of thoughts to say. I've talked about her and her Elizabethan collar before. We'll get into it when we touch on the messages, and for sure we'll be deep diving in that empowerment reading. So let's get to it. I want to jump right into kicking off our quick hit messages over on the Empowerment Sharecast, starting with some energetic weather for this week. So let's check it out. All right, let's get things started with some energetic weather. Just a couple things to note. We already talked about last week, Friday, August 1st, Venus squares Saturn and Neptune. So I covered that last week and how that was bringing up some energy here to open up the month of August, with Venus being in action with those two power planets and just really bringing her influence into the mix. And that could bring what we may expect, some relationship issues at the forefront of our minds, as well as matters of the heart. Maybe feeling torn about how we feel, or perhaps our emotions maybe feeling all over the place. But Saturn asking us to ground ourselves in our relationships and set clear boundaries, all while Neptune is asking us to open our hearts and practice unconditional love. So we stepped into the weekend in that energy. And now as we take the plunge, take the leap into August, the first aspect of note here I have is August 6th, Mars in Libra. So that actually is where I paused on that Wednesday card, the midweek blessing, the 7 of Wands, where she's going one foot's on one side and one leaping across to the other, which is just perfect with those Libra scales. Now, Mars in Libra. So in these days leading up to Mars move into Libra, it's activating the same degree as the upcoming Virgo solar eclipse that will be on September 21st. So this means that as of August 6th, this Wednesday, we can start to perhaps get a sense of what next month's solar eclipse has in store for us. So pay attention to what fiery Mars may be highlighting for you and see how it comes back around later in September. And as Mars gets settled in Libra, our attention may turn to balance, fairness, and order. On the world stage, there may be a greater fight for equality. In our own lives, we may be feeling the call to bring more equality into our personal relationships. So definitely going to be interesting to see where that goes. And it's really speaking to that 7 of Wands now for that card. There was a reason why I counted up the dates when I was doing the card pull to calculate that was the 6th. So we will talk about that when we get to Wednesday. Now, the next stop along the way is the big one, August 8th, Lionsgate portal. So the Lionsgate portal celebrates the rising of Sirius after weeks of invisibility due to the rays of the sun. Now, as Sirius returns to the sky, emerging from the light of the sun, it is reborn. And this symbolizes a rebirth of our spiritual body and a stronger and more powerful connection with our soul. While Sirius will be visible in the sky over the coming days based on latitude, August 8th is the day that we celebrate the portal due to the addition of that 8-8 numerology that we will also be talking about to tune into. A very auspicious day from that numerological perspective to really amplify those 8 energies of manifestation, infinity, and more. Finally, August 9th, the Aquarius full moon. So this takes us into Saturday, where the full moon aligns with the asteroid of spirit medicine, 𝓘𝓷𝓽𝓾𝓲𝓽𝓾. 𝓘𝓷𝓽𝓾 allows us to connect with nature to evoke a powerful healing energy. And she encourages us to listen to our bodies and use plant medicine for healing. 𝓘𝓷𝓽𝓾 and the Aquarius full moon will work together to bring a powerful release, which could feel very healing. We are guided to bring a sense of neutrality to our emotions, honoring that there is no good or bad, there just is. And this full moon will also help to bring closure to the energies that we've been working with since February of this year. So overall, this is a very cleansing full moon that will help us to recalibrate for the upcoming eclipse season. So yes, stay tuned if you would like more on this. To go deeper, join me for that full moon empowerment reading. I'll have the link here at the end of our messages today for all of the August offerings if you want to hop in for the empowerment pack, or maybe just the a la carte for the full moon and get that entry into the giveaway. All right, without further ado, let's roll into our card messages, starting with the Mystic Soul Oracle message. So we open up our card messages here with this beautiful card of shed. And I brought in my little bottle of snake skin because I love the symbolism here of releasing old dead skin, sloughing off layers of the past and emerging reborn into the light of a new day. The shed card represents the process of letting go of old, outdated habits, patterns, beliefs, or identities that no longer align with who you are. Snake appears before you because you are ready to evolve. Let's get ready for rebirth and renewal. Yeah, this is so powerful on a week of the Lion's Gate and a full moon in Aquarius. I mean, this is all about the shedding, the release, the letting go, the forgiving, the leaving behind what's no longer serving. So, the snake skin is such a beautiful analogy, and it reminds me of like old skin, old clothes that are just so tight and restrictive that are just, I got a visual the other day. I was doing a personal card pull for someone. It reminded me of the Hulk, David Banner, when he turns into the Hulk and his clothing just literally rips off at the seams because he can no longer fit in that skin. Now, of course, he's having an emotional reaction. But in this case, I'm saying it's like it's splitting at the seams, that old skin. It doesn't fit. And if you were to try to go back and step into some old skin from years ago, maybe even some old jeans, who knows, and hey, that can go in either direction, too big, too small. But it's this idea that an older version of you, it doesn't fit anymore. And to try to get back into that skin is just kind of silly, like it just doesn't fit. So there's definitely this initiation this week of the shed, the release, the letting go. So we'll take that into this week as we bring up our tarot cards and tune in for these week ahead messages. Let's take a look at Monday. Okay, let's get Monday started with the 9 of Swords coming in to really set the tone for the energies for us to bring into our awareness. That's what this is all about. When we're reading tarot from an empowered perspective, we're checking in with the energies, we're bringing that in and meeting it with our free will so we can have a better understanding of what we're working with and can make those informed choices with the insight, the guidance, and the awareness that comes in. And there's some headsy energy coming in with this 9 of Swords because it's a card that represents worry, anxiety, even sleepless nights, insomnia, nightmare energy. I like to say analysis paralysis, when we get caught up in our heads, overthinking, maybe churning things around, ruminating, if we will. So now the mystic soul message of the 9 of Swords is showing that there's a portrayal here of a state of mental anguish, which is often caused by excessive negative thinking, fears, or overwhelming stress. And it's what could happen if we don't break free from the energy of the 8 of Swords. Remember, before the 9 of Swords come the 8 of Swords, which is about that limited perspective thinking, being stuck in believing that our options are few and very much, under that tight wrap. Again, it feels like that tight skin that needs to stretch and split off. So if we don't heed that, if we don't allow ourselves to remove that blindfold, to free ourselves from that limited thinking, we may find ourselves in this loop of the 9 of Swords. So you may be feeling consumed by worry or negative thoughts that are leading to a cycle of anxiety and restlessness. Now is the time to seek support and find some healthy ways to alleviate your anxiety. Practice more self-care and self-love. Show yourself the utmost compassion. So yeah, there's just this sense of, look up, right? Rise up. And we have that navel gazing component of just looking down, ho hum, woe is me. It's heavy, it's hard. And it's not to say that it isn't, because there's a heck of a lot of reason to tune into the frequency of worry and anxiety and, monkey mind right now, right? When we look around. But this is inviting us to expand beyond that. Look up, take a breath, take a beat. And, the air element of the Swords has us kind of untethered and sort of all up in the head and sort of floaty and spacey and all over the place versus getting grounded, right? So maybe some grounding is in order. Taking a few minutes every day for a grounding practice. If it's just going outside, barefoot preferred, walking on the earth, taking a few deep breaths, looking at nature and utilizing, those the five senses of looking around and seeing, and just, deriving, not just seeing, but what are some things I can see, I can hear, I can smell, taste, and touch, and allow your mind to hone in on that, and give yourself that practice to tether to when it comes to getting grounded and focus of mind. But whatever grounding practice speaks to you, rather, is an opportunity for you to just take a few moments to get out of your head and into your body. So that's what's coming up here with some best guidance for us as we step into this week, perhaps finding ourselves up in the mind. Mercury is retrograde after all. So again, if we witness that happening for ourselves, or we're feeling that, or if you literally are having trouble sleeping, those types of things, grounding practices, and tuning into that root chakra, which we'll talk about more as we go through these cards. So let's take a look now at Tuesday for a potential block or challenge. All right, Tuesday is our potential block or challenge this week, but coming from that earthy, grounded Knight of Pentacles. So let's take a look at the way in which this energy could potentially present a challenge this week or feel like a block. Now, the Knight of Pentacles is representative of being reliable, responsible, a methodical approach to achieving goals. Remember, tending to those fields, moving through that process of nurturing and cultivating and preparing, and hardworking, practical, focus, slow and steady. Don't give up. But what if we're feeling a challenge there? What if we're feeling blocked? That's where the Knight of Pentacles can suggest a lack of progress, procrastination, a tendency to be overly cautious and risk averse. It may indicate that you're feeling stuck or experiencing delays in achieving your goals. The Knight of Pentacles reverse urges you to break out of your comfort zone and take calculated risks. I mean, it just keeps coming back to the leap, and we just talked about this in the Empowerment Pack month ahead reading that I recorded just before this. I got all into the mythos of the tadpole and the symbolism that was coming up for me to share through that beautiful symbolism, that the frog doesn't think about it, right? The frog goes for it. And so worry, anxiety, being caught up in the head, the woulda, coulda, shouldas, the what ifs, the hypothetical scenarios, all of it are things that could be blocking us and stopping us from taking that leap. The least of which is like, wow, that's a big jump, so if it's just a little thing to some big, massive leap that's really putting yourself out there, that can be scary. That can be something that we're just not feeling quite ready to do. So how do we leap in that, And so I think that's perfect. And again, reminds us about getting grounded and reminds us about the pentacles are the slowest moving suit of the tarot. It's earth energy. It's the last thing. Air, quick. Fire, quick. The ideas, the sparks, the thoughts, it's moving, but earth is dense, right? And it's tangible. So it's the last stop for us to see it appear, to manifest. Where is it? Where is my beautiful crop? I've been plowing and tending and cultivating and nurturing and doing it and thinking positive and all the things. And I don't have any fruit. I have nothing to pick. When's it going to come? And I think a lot of people are feeling that anxious energy as well, because we're on the 8th month, checking the watch, looking at the clock, where is it? And so I think not for everybody, but for some people might be feeling that energy, and so let's work with that, and let's work towards surrendering into that divine timing and into that in between, to have that faith, to take that leap, to recognize maybe some steps that we could take that would help to get things moving. And once again, perfect opportunity in a Lionsgate portal, Aquarius full moon week. I mean, this is an excellent time for us to really take some definitive action here. Doesn't have to be huge, but move. So we'll talk about that too as we move through the week. All right, there it is. It's the August 6th Seven of Wands coming in here as our midweek blessing. So we have this javelin throwing athlete. She's taking the leap. She's jumping from one cliff to the next. But we see that there's other javelin throwers, perhaps, literally right on her heels. So the Seven of Wands can have that feeling of needing to protect ourselves, to stand our ground, to put up some boundaries, that type of energy, all while we see the fire of her going for it. And, I mentioned in the card pull that we had right out the gate, all four elements, all four suits, one after the other, air, earth, fire, water, but we end, fire was the tiebreaker. Double fire here for Leo season, for Lionsgate. So I'm feeling the heat of that coming in here with this Seven of Wands. So again, a card that's bringing up for us being determined and having courage, standing our ground, going for it. And I love that her sneakers are orange. I always tune into those little color symbols, the signs, all of it is speaking. That's giving me sacral chakra energy, what your desires, your passions, what do you want? What do you wish to create in this world that you can express? And so the Seven of Wands is bringing in a suggestion that, you might be faced with some obstacles that you need to overcome. You might be pressed to defend your beliefs, assert your boundaries, and protect your interests. So tap into your inner strength and confront any opposition with determination and perseverance. Those are some buzzwords we've been getting a lot of, right? Stay true to yourself and your convictions. So yeah, she's got eye on the prize. She is going for it. She is taking that leap, all while she feels them coming at her heels. So if there is a sense out there of needing to defend yourself or being faced with, being pressed, defending your beliefs, as it says, or asserting your boundaries, or feeling the need to protect. That is all coming in as a blessing because it's bringing into your awareness maybe some vulnerable spots, but also some portals of power that you have, that you could wield that wand with that determination, with that focus, with that perseverance toward your goals. And I do feel that as she is moving into the Thursday card, where we see that you're not alone, that you're supported by your tribe, that others have your back. So it is something that feels safe to do. And again, I just see different cards, knowing just, with July fresh in my mind and knowing that we actually had the Five of Wands on the altar last week. It was actually Monday's card. It had come up in the prior lunation. It was the new moon in Leo. And so very similarly, it sort of had this, leaping from one boulder to the next and going for it, all while you're in the midst of this stirred up, churned up energy. So staying focused, again, following through with this, getting grounded, utilizing our tools, bringing in, creating those boundaries, protecting your energy, and going for it. So let's take a look now at how we're growing for it on Thursday. All right, Thursday represents how we are growing this week and even wider into this month. We've got the Three of Cups again, because the Three of Cups has come up quite a bit lately. And it's bringing in that sense of belonging, of friendship and tribe and coming together and celebration and more. So we tune in here with Thursday's energy, Three of Cups, representing celebration, joy, friendship. And, it's representing this time of unbridled joy and happiness in which your relationships are harmonious and you are content. You can create or maintain this time in your life by embracing the spirit of camaraderie and sharing the pleasures of life with others. Be grateful for the love and support in your life. And hey, have some fun. Now, as I'm reading that, I'm feeling, from a practical perspective, it can literally mean, and I feel like, tarot imitating life. I know for me, like I said, my birthday's this week on Friday. I imagine I may have, meet up with some friends for a breakfast, a coffee, a dinner, some celebration, some coming together. So this can literally represent for you a time of getting together with others to celebrate. It can literally mean, cheers, toasting cups and meeting at a table. Some people, just from a practical perspective, meeting up with people for a meal or for just a gathering of like-minded souls come together in tribe, in support, having each other's back. And we grow into recognizing that, each one of these women, as we see them presented here, are very unique and diverse in their styles, in the way they're presenting, in terms of, we each bring a different something to the table that is a contributor to the magic that we make together. And so I think that's a beautiful message to grow into, sharing and collaborating. 3 is the number of co-creation, coordination, collaboration. So coming together with others, creating, bringing together our unique perspectives, our unique gifts, and, making something of it. And like I said, we can see that they're coming together in love, in peace, and in harmony. So there's a beautiful energy here that taps into that joy frequency. And I love to see that for where we are growing. So as we step into August and whatever comes our way in terms of all of this frenetic energy, 2 months in one, this idea of going from the deep to the leap and all of it, where to from here and how do we get there? We have each other's back. We celebrate what makes each of us unique, and we do so in love, in peace, in joy, harmony. So again, we talked about Mars and Libra and the energies that that's bringing up. So I feel like, again, stars, cards speaking to us very synchronistically. Let's take a look now at the big one, Friday for 8-8 Lionsgate. All right, Friday, 8-8 Lionsgate. We have the Page of Wands, one of the Leo fire sign energies coming in the suit of fire with the Page of Wands. And as I was saying in the card pulls, how to me, she looks very powerful, very grounded, whereas the pages tend to get that rap of their messengers, their novices, they can be a little green around the gills. I keep saying green around the gills. I know that means feeling sick. It's like they're green in terms of being like new at things, finding their footing, a little immature. But I find her to present as very powerful, very grounded. And so I love that Leo energy of feeling that standing in our power, our fire, but it's also tying us into that page aspect of the younger version and the sense of self that comes from that beginner stage. So the Page of Wands representing enthusiasm, creativity, new beginnings. So Page of Wands represents fresh inspiration and excitement in the air. You've endured the obstacles of the other cards in the suit of Wands and are now entering a phase of discovery and growth. New ideas and opportunities are presenting themselves. Embrace curiosity, allow optimism to lead. Be open to new possibilities. So yeah, I feel, she really brings home this whole getting grounded and connecting in with the root chakra, with our base, things I was mentioning at the beginning. If we're feeling untethered, if we're feeling very caught up in our head, analysis paralysis, if we're having trouble taking the leap because we feel like there's a lot at our heels, get grounded, right? Come into the body, but also follow your joy, follow your spark, do what lights you up. And even if you're new at it, and even if you really don't know, because you're just learning, you can start small, start where you are, take the leap. So I really feel like she is really solidifying those messages, and on the 8-8 Lionsgate really feels potent. And like I said, as we move into this week, we're going to talk much more about that energy of 8-8 in numerology, and also, how you can harness that and work with that through this Lionsgate way, which is not just on the 8th, but that's the day that we really hone in on with the powerful numerological aspects as well. So that wraps us up from a tarot perspective for this week. Once again, if you would like a personal card pull, you can feel free to quick reply here on the Empowerment Sharecast, send me a message privately, or if you're seeing this on one of my social media spaces, you can comment, and I will pull a personal card just for you that'll be video recorded. And we'll be doing those probably in the back half of the week as I move through. Like I said, we're coming in hot August with all the things. I'll be in recordings for all those comprehensive sessions, which you are also invited to join me on with the Empowerment Pack, the Full Moon Empowerment Reading, and more. So do check the link for those ways we can work together this month, and you can get some additional entries into my giveaway. All right, let's finish things up here for the week with our Queen of the Moon message. All right, the Queen of the Moon brings forward as an overarching energy of the full moon in Aquarius, the card of will, number 13, which gives us a 1 + 3 = 4 energy, which is all about structure and foundation and balance, and like those 4 legs of a chair, getting down to that structure, and here, the will. So I'm going to just touch on this here, and we'll be deep diving in that full moon empowerment reading. So it says, decisions require action. You are in control of your own decisions and life, no one else's. Passion and will determine a great proportion of your success. You will persist. You possess free will, which means you should focus on yourself first and avoid placing your will over another's. And the affirmation with this card says, I have the will to make the changes I need. And yeah, like I said, when I was pulling the cards, this one is interesting to me because she sort of has the mask over her eyes, the crescent moon on her head, and that Elizabethan collar around her neck. And she's dressed head to toe in blue, which is bringing me into not just the cosmos as the beautiful print on the dress, but the 5th chakra, the throat chakra, because there's this sense of the blue bringing us into that freedom, the will to express ourselves authentically, and talk about tight clothing that you just want to rip off when we talked about the shed card and the Hulk. How about that Elizabethan collar? I mean, how comfortable do you think that is? I just want to reach right there at the neck and pull that off, So there's this sense of the freedom and the expansion coming in with this Aquarian full moon, Aquarius representing freedom, expression, innovation, humanity, so much about this expansion, this great expansion that we're stepping into now here in the age of Aquarius, and Pluto in Aquarius, and the fact that we have this full moon in Aquarius coming in. And as I touched on in the energetic weather, sort of, finalizing that cycle that was initiated in February when we would have had our new moon in Aquarius. So come full circle now. In what way are we ready to express? Do we have the will to say the hard thing, to express the authentic truth that we have within? So that Elizabethan collar is really speaking to me like it's got to go. There's this shedding, this release, this opening that's available with this full moon. So like I said, we will get into that much deeper in the full moon empowerment reading. You're all invited to join if you want to grab that. You will also receive an entry into my August birthday month giveaway. So thank you so much for being here, and I appreciate whatever capacity we get to work together this month, appreciating the energy that you bring here as we tap into the collective from this perspective of empowerment. So I'm sending you all much love, many blessings. We'll chat soon.